Right. Okay. Hi. My name is Glen. I'm an Australian. Moved here to Kent in the 1990s. I came over to England because I met my wife who's English. But at the time, I was rather estranged from my family, and I had no ties at that stage. My sisters, I'd lost contact with my sisters, lost contact with my mother. Over the years and decades, to be honest, there was one or two nieces and nephews I started coming across, or they found me. One of the nieces said that she had found some things for me which she should be able to arrange. By sheer chance, I took out this rather large box from the shed. Suddenly all this stuff fell over the ground. And she was like looking and then realised that they were pictures of me as a child. These are photo albums I'd not seen. And on top of that, she found 8mm films, had my name, Glen, written on them, but she had no idea. And then she found this box. She looked in the box, and I'll just sort of show you that, there's 400 slides in this entire box. It's taken me a long time to sit down and go through them all. And I could tell by looking at some of the samples, just by holding them up to the light and go, oh, well, what is that? I thought, this is when we went to Europe. So in the early 60s, my mother and I went to Europe, and we spent over a year living in Europe. About 100 of the slides out of the 400 were pictures of me or my mother, or my mother and I. And you've got to remember, I'm estranged from my mother, and I've not seen my mother for probably 40, 50 years. So this was all a bit of a sort of a great surprise to me to go, here's pictures of photos or records of my youth, of my childhood, which I didn't really remember at all. And it's really, to me, an interesting story of that 12 months or 18 months. And I can sort of see the story of her life as a sort of a single woman, a single mother. What happened at that stage is that my mother, I believe, took on a lover. 1963, my mother sent me home by myself. I would have been about 3 years old. So I was put on a Qantas flight as a very young age at Rome. And there is a photo, which is interesting about this whole set, because it's the photo of me at the Rome airport, literally saying goodbye to my mother. And she's taking photos of that. In one of these books here, these photographic books, is a picture of me landing in Sydney, wearing the same clothes. Oh, no, there it is. Can you see that photo? So I've got documentary proof now of me being put on a plane in Rome and me being picked up in Sydney by my grandmother and sisters when my mother sent me home. Yeah. So see, that thing is sort of a bit emotional, because I did see my mother after, later in life, but just there's the sort of like the documentation of me leaving my mother at an early age. There's sort of there's all sorts of issues with that, which I'm not sure I want to go into at this point. Okay. We all remember the dark side of my mother. We all remember the reason why the family splintered so long ago, and there's a lot of trauma there. There's no doubt about that. And I think looking at these photos, the fun that my mother and I had traveling across Europe, and and I think she did dote on me. And I do think that there was a very solid relationship, a good healthy relationship with my mother and I in those days. We forget how funny she was. We forget the good times that we had with her. We forget what a rebel and a sort of almost trailblazing person in that context of what she did. And I think that we all do is that we all let the negatives in our old relationships cloud the memories that we have. So it was a sort of a reminder that that my mother cared for me a lot in those days. Yeah.